they at least understood that a nuclear war was unwinnable for anybody, right?
Right.
And now they seem to think, well, define war and define nuclear. And what if it's a small nuke? What if it's like a nitty-bitty nuke and it's just on Kiev, which is not in a NATO country? Do we get away with it?
Right.
And as for brinksmanship, for months as he was building up so many troops around the border with Ukraine, surrounding it all three sides, there were a lot of people who were saying he's not going to do it. That's crazy.
Right. I didn't
it's
think
just
he was gonna do it.
brinksmanship. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So we have to believe him when he says what he's going to do.
The chemical weapons issue, and you touched on it, the world has to be outraged at this. And I think it is absolutely a game changer. It could cause escalation like we've never seen before, and bad shit happen. But maybe on the other hand, if we could get China to join us in the sanctions, it would bring them to their knees just that fast. Not that the sanctions aren't working a lot very, very well right now, but they're only out of China. That's their only out right now.
But again, I'm sorry, I love you, John. I have to do this because you are a senator.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to press you on it.
Yes.
The nuke, let's say he does fire a nuke. What does the United States do? What do you vote that we do? You are one of the 535 people.
I think
if we still have a constitution where it's the Congress that declares war, because we don't, really. I mean, that they gave up that power a long time ago, and the president seems to have taken over unilaterally, which is wrong, but we could get into that in another date. But let's say it's still up to the Congress how to respond. What do you say we do? A nuclear attack on Kiev?
I'm telling you that the response would be very, very bad. It would be very, very bad because you would respond in a like manner. And then that
sounds
would
like
be
us firing off a nuclear weapon.
And another response. I am telling you that I don't think you can take anything off the table at this moment in time. And I think it could escalate, just as John Howman has said, in a way that none of us want to see.
Right.
I mean, the problem is that the situation gets ramped up to the point where everyone's on high alert. In war, there's a lot of confusion. Nobody knows really what's going on. There's a lot of misperception. You've got the phone lines are basically cut. Normally, you would have our Secretary of Defense talking to his counterpart in Moscow. Not happening. They're not taking the phone calls, so we don't really know what they're thinking or even what they're saying they're thinking. And in a situation like that, where tensions are escalated, no one knows what the other side is thinking or what they're doing, what's posturing, what's not. The worry is not like Putin's going to nuke Manhattan or London or Paris, but that a mistake gets made, a missile gets launched, and no one's sure what it is. It's the possibility for error, a small error that then triggers the response that is what we have to respond to.
That's a different issue.
Or a manufactured error.
Manufactured error.
I talked about that last week. There have been many nukes that have been lost.
Yes.
And there were a couple of cases in 83 and 95 where the Soviets thought, in 83, it was the Russians in 95, thought that an attack was underway, but they didn't respond because, oh no, it's just birds or something, or our radar is screwed up.
Right.
We're talking about, let's not avoid the question, a deliberate attack. And it's the ultimate, there are no good answers. There's only the least bad. And I'm kind of with you. The least bad answer that you have to go to is that it cannot stand. You cannot set the precedent that you could nuke somebody and get away with it, which means that you have to nuke. Now, maybe that doesn't mean Moscow, but I just think, how else are you going to live in a world where someone thinks, because there's how many nuclear powers? 10 now? And there's going to be more.
Yeah.
You have to, it's just...
Here's the other thing. Can I just add another thing? That we've already gotten to a point that's really bad with Ukraine getting invaded like this now a second time. Ukraine gave up the nuclear weapons on its territory in 1994 in exchange for territorial sovereignty. There were no concrete guarantees in the agreement that somebody would fight for them. But now, after what happened with Libya, what happened with Ukraine, if I'm a small country, I want nukes because then nobody will invade me.
It's the problem with the proliferation pressure. Now everybody's going to want to have nukes because they've seen how this has played out. But I'll say, Billy, when they do these war game scenarios, which is all we ever do, right? Because we haven't actually had a nuclear war since 1945. We haven't dropped any nuclear weapons. When they do them, there's a moment in the scenario. The first thing happens, right? Russia launches, let's say, one tactical nuke. At that moment, there's a choice to make. Do you respond with a nuclear, commensurate, single tactical nuclear warhead back, or do you stay conventional? And in most of the simulations, if you choose nuclear, you end up with 100 million people dead very fast because of the way the systems are built to escalate. And so for a lot of people, this might be the wrong political answer, but that if you that is the gate. It's that first response. And once you go through one gate or the other, you are on the path very quickly towards not inevitable, but very likely global devastation or not. And again, it's one of the trickiest things. Why when the government runs these tests, they say they almost always end up with total global thermonuclear war. There's no, it's just
unwinnable.
It's the way that things are built. They're built to kill and escalate.
Great note to end on.
Yeah.
Have a great Oscar weekend, everybody.